a Honda Fireblade engine, which is going in our Honda Acti, some fresh oil and a fresh oil filter, as OEM as possible. Welcome back to K & Builds. This is our Honda Fireblade engine, which is going in our Honda Acti. We have a load of parts to try and get it running, so let's hope that in today's video we can get our bike running before we put it in the truck. So in the last episode we made this bit of a frame to start it on this pallet. Make sure you go back and check it out. I'll put the link in the description. But we are going to have to take it back off this pallet because we need to get the sump plug off. So what I'm going to do, take it off, and I'm going to drill a hole in the pallet to give access to the sump plug, as we do have some fresh oil and a fresh oil filter. So we've got it off the pallet and onto the board on its own, and we have drilled through bit of a botch drill. We didn't have the hole saw, so we've just drilled through so that we can access the sump plug through the bottom to drain the oil. We don't think there's really any oil in here. The oil pressure switch, there's an extended braided line, but that's been removed, so the chances are all the oil is drained out. But we're going to have to drain it anyway, just in case, and get the fresh oil in. Oil's drained, oil filter off. There wasn't any in the oil filter, but there was quite a lot of oil in the engine. It must have just been just below the inspection window. So on this side of the engine, there's a little window, and that should see a level, min and max. Might have been just below that, but there was quite a lot of oil. So we do have our new K&N filter and our fresh oil to go in. It does say about 3 litres to go in, so what we'll do, add 3 litres and then see if we can see it on the inspection window. But we're probably going to move on to the wiring harness after we top up the oil. So in the last video we figured out that we were missing 2 key components. One was the oil pressure switch, so that's simply threads into this extended line. We can remove the line if we wanted and put it straight into the engine, but all that does is a single connector go into the ECU or into the wiring harness to tell us that we've got oil pressure, so we need that. The other thing we were missing was the starter relay, which is this piece. It has 2 connectors on. It simply connects into our harness onto there. The 2 connectors, one goes off to the battery and the other one goes off to the starter motor. So we need to, what we're going to do next is get the oil pressure switch on with PTFE tape, and then get this wired to the starter motor on top and to the battery. I don't know how much we would have captured in time lapses, but let's run through what we've done so far. So oil pressure switch is now in with PTFE. So on the top, there's just a little terminator we loosen off, and then we put a little eyelet which gets connected to the inside of this connector. But as you can see, there should be 3 wires going into this. This one is the neutral switch, the oil pressure switch, and also we have now found the coolant temperature switch, which also needs to get wired into this plug. So moving on to the battery, we're all connected now, and then once we've made all our modifications to the loom to try and get it started, we can then plug it into our starter relay. And as you can see, we go from the positive on the battery through the starter relay in. Hopefully then when we press the ignition, it should fly through and then into the starter motor. And then we also got the negative grounded to the engine. So I explained briefly in the last video that on a bike, there are a lot of things which you need switched live or switched on in order to get the bike started. So there's a kickstand, so then there's a switch on that you can't start the bike unless the kickstand is up. So for example, this is the kickstand. What we've made is these small terminators, and the plan is to slide onto the male pins within the plugs and to short the cables that we need to short, like so. That's just a temporary fix to get this started as it is, but this should help us start the bike on the table That way we can figure out what we need to sort out. We are going to probably strip this loom of all the insulation tape and end up recovering it before it goes back in the truck. One, we can make it a lot tidier. We can tuck away all the plugs that we don't need. We don't want to mess with the loom too much. We want to keep it as OEM as possible. But that way we can make it look a lot nicer. So I spent probably about 2 hours going through the wiring. I think I have, or thought I had, everything that I needed to possibly at least try and get the starter motor to go in, trying to get it turning over. But the chances are I am missing something. So it is a bit of a mess. It takes a bit of head work and getting used to understanding what's going on. Could be that one of my connections I put in could be loose. So I'm gonna have to basically go around every single connector, double check. There's a lot of plugs which aren't doing anything. So things like the tail lights, obviously they're not going to be needed to start the bike, hopefully anyway. But I am going to double check to see if anything is needed. So I'm going to spend a bit more time now trying to get some plugs in so we can get it started. But so far so good, but bit of a wall now. So I didn't have the neutral plugged in. There's a chance that it may not be a neutral as well, so I might have to get the mole grips onto the gear selector and see if I can feel. With motorbikes is neutral, 1 gear down and then 5 gears up, depending if there's 6 gears or 4 gears up. So may have to do that, but I'm hoping that we do have everything plugged in. So I do have this is basically a kill switch, so I need this in the on position when I want to turn it off. Hopefully if it starts, that will cut the engine. So then I have this wire loose as well. I couldn't find another switch, so if this works then I can order another switch for the start. Ideally I want to start as a push and release so that it doesn't stay on, but for the time being I'm hoping I can press the other end of the connector onto where I need to try and get it to turn over. So our little jumper is connected up, and hopefully that's on. So hopefully I can connect this to the black and white, which is this one. Nothing. So after looking at it for a couple of hours, we're still not really any more than we started with. I did start to make a list of all the branches or shorts that we did make, but kind of lost track as it just became a lot of work. Plan is to just have a look online. I did have a little look last night. There are some things we could be missing. So apparently in the ignition barrel there's a resistor. That was a Honda's anti-theft sort of device to stop people just shorting the ignition. So there may be things like that we're missing. So what we're going to do now is just leave it for now, have a look, scour the internet for as much as we can, see what we are missing. I think I have the right idea in terms of things like front lights. You shouldn't need any of that connected to get the engine running, as these don't affect the engine in any way whatsoever. So yeah, we're at a bit of a dead end. So if you think of anything, or if there's anything you may think that we could be missing, like the resistors or anything like that, then make sure you drop a comment. Any help would be much appreciated. Lastly, all we're going to do is just connect the positive and negative directly to the starter motor to get that turning and hopefully turn over the engine. Obviously we don't know what the state of this engine is yet, so we do just want to see it turn over, so we know that it's not seized or anything. So without further ado, let's get the battery and see if this engine is any good. So far, fingers crossed. So what we got to do is take off the one terminal on the starter relay. So moment of truth, if this engine is any good, hopefully. So that's it for today's video. Luckily the engine is actually not seized and it sounds really healthy. Unfortunately we didn't get it started, bit of a rough one, but we're going to look on the internet now, spend a couple of hours doing some research and hopefully find something we're missing. If we're missing anything, we'll get things ordered and obviously we'll let you know in the next video. And hopefully in the next video with the engine we can manage to get it started. and hopefully we're just missing something so small and we can get that sorted. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you are liking the K-Truck series as much as us. If you are, make sure you drop a subscribe, drop a like, and we will catch you in the next one.